Foresight community. Welcome to Foresight Talk. Today with us is Mr. Jerome Glenn. Hello, Jerome.
Hello, nice to be with you, Blaž.
Jerome Glenn will speak about the Millennium Project and its 25 years of achievement.
Thank you. The Millennium Project is a global think tank. We have 30 or 67 now. We've added two more since that slide. 67 nodes around the world. A node is a group of individuals and institutions that connect the thinking within their country with the global thoughts around the world and then brings it back into their country, translated in different languages. So when people talk about global local, a node is our answer to that global local. And as you can see in the screen, these are the locations around the world. We've been in business for 25 years now, and we have produced 19 State of the Future reports. And one of the key elements of our State of the Future reports are 15 global challenges. The 15 global challenges is like a framework of understanding global change. They're on water and on energy and on decision making and on ethics. And war and peace and organized crime and gender issues, population and so forth. So these are 15 global challenges that through 25 years, we've been updating and improving insights in there. And one of the learnings from this have been essentially, we're winning more than we're losing. But where we're losing is very serious. We're winning in education. We're much better in child mortality rates. We've got more people with water than before, although water tables are falling down. That's a problem. We are much freer than we were in the past, although recently press freedoms have been going down. So there's a lot of these things are both sides. And we are actually winning on poverty more than people think. If you go back to 1980, about 1980, half the world was below the extreme poverty line. Today, fewer than 10% are under that line. Yes, COVID has pushed it up a little bit, but it'll go back down. So we're winning in a lot of areas in the social field, but at the expense of the environment. We're losing on climate change, obviously. We're losing on organized crime. We're losing on social stability. There's a lot of more social stability going on before. But in general, we're winning more than we're losing. So the message is, you have no right to be pessimistic about the future, but you have no right to go to sleep either. We got some serious problems, but we have got a momentum of solving problems, and our ability to solve problems is getting better and better all the time. There's far more collaboration going on in the world than, say, 50 years ago.
So, Mr. Jerome, as you said, we are more winning than losing. And the Millennium Project studies proved that in last 25 years.
Yeah, the way we did that very quickly, on those 15 global challenges, we said, how would you measure progress or regress? So we got all these indicators, then we keep track of these indicators over time. We can project them out and see how we're doing. And that's one of the key elements of the State of the Future. It's like a report card on civilization. How are we doing?
So what about the role of Asia and the new emergence of China? Can you tell us about that and your experiences in working with Asia?
Right. Well, one of the things that I'm sure your listeners know is that Mr. Putin from Moscow said, whoever runs AI runs the world. And China, in the recent plan, has said by 2030, they will be the leader in artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of artificial brain projects and AI projects. So we're like in an AI race. So Asia is now moving strongly in this direction that it was not just a few years ago. So one of the areas that we're going to have to learn is, how do we manage the evolution of artificial intelligence like we have today into a more complex and sophisticated one that may be beyond our control eventually. So how we collaborate among ourselves, and that's mostly China and the United States, others as well, but mostly China and the United States, will determine whether AI is a problem in the future or not. Now, it's people say, well, how's it possible for China and the United States to collaborate and they're in big competition? Well, we did the same thing in the Cold War. Nuclear weapons was a race on nuclear weapons, but we figured out how to have some treaties and manage it. And we're going to have to do the same thing today. But you look over at places like Korea, Japan, these are countries that did what is called a catch-up economy. How can they catch up with Europe and the United States? Well, now they've caught up. Even China, not all of China, the north, the middle and up is still very much in poverty, but the lower part of China is very advanced. So you take Korea, very advanced, Japan, very advanced, Singapore, very advanced, southern part of China, very advanced. It's interesting because in the past, they just looked at how do we duplicate the cell phone? How do we duplicate, how do we catch up with that? Well, now we're all sort of together. And now it's time for us to think together about the future. And it's going to work out, I think, fine if we can get some cooperation between the United States and China. Then the other cooperations can come into play. And I think that area for cooperation will be environmental security. It's the only area that I can see that clearly even the militaries of both sides want to collaborate on environmental security. Maybe we need a 10-year goal of how to affect global warming and have some international NASA-like R&D program to achieve that goal. If we can move in that direction, China, United States, and Europe will have a very nice collaboration in the future. And there's reason to believe this is possible.
Can you elaborate a little bit artificial intelligence and unemployment, how this will, or new way of employment in the future, how this will affect?
The kind of artificial intelligence we have today has a narrow focus, so we call it artificial narrow intelligence. So the AI that drives a car cannot diagnose cancer. Okay, now the people worry about causing a lot of unemployment with this kind of AI. And yes, it will have some effect. That's true. But when you talk about, let's say, AI driving a car or trucks and so forth, you can all the trucks will not go automated in one day.
Can you tell us about artificial intelligence and how it will affect the employment or unemployment in the future?
Well, as you know, artificial intelligence is already affecting unemployment at the moment, but it's a small impact to begin with. The kind of artificial intelligence we have now is single purpose, gets rid of repetitive behavior, pulls a lot of data together, makes intelligent decisions. But we can plan for that. Just like when you have artificial intelligence is going to drive a truck, not all of the trucks are going to be turned into robots in one day. Of course not. So you can plan ahead of time. So you can say, okay, your job might be automated in 3 to 5 years. So we can retrain you in other skills, other activities. And we should be planning to do that now. But the next artificial intelligence is much more sophisticated. We may not have it, but we think we will. This is a general intelligence. This can do a whole lot of stuff, much more than a narrow intelligence. And that's the real problem. That artificial general intelligence, it might not happen for another 10, 15, 20 years. But we got to think ahead about that because that's going to change the nature of work altogether because that can wipe out a lot of stuff. And I'll talk about super in just a second. But what's happening now is just like your body, you have a whole lot of your functions, your digestion and your walking around, all this sort of stuff that you automatically do is taken care of without your conscious brain much, huh? That's what's in the process of happening to all of civilization. We're creating artificial intelligence to take over all these repetitive functions like the body has done. And the narrow intelligence, as I mentioned with truck drivers, is a predictable thing, and we should be working on that right now, but it's linear again. The AI that drives a car does not diagnose cancer, all right? These are certain now. So in each of these categories, we can forecast unemployment areas when and prepare for it. Artificial general is less predictable. It cuts across the whole system. If we don't get the general right, then it can evolve into a super intelligence that the science fiction people are worrying about. So right now, we're trying to figure out how to make the transition from narrow to general AI in a good way.
What about new age? How?
Yes, well, as we move into general intelligence, people will be freed up, just like your mind, your brain is freed up. You don't have to worry about digestion. You don't have to worry about all these bodily functions. You're free. All right. Human civilization is going through the same process right now. So we'll be freed up to self-actualize ourselves, to create new ways of employment. Instead of going somewhere for a job, you find markets for yourself around the world for what you want to do. It's like making money on your hobby, so to speak, and you're creating a new world. Now, people have said that every age from agriculture, industrial is going to be fewer jobs, and there's ends up being more jobs. So what's different this time? The acceleration of change is much, 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 much faster. We also have a global platform for transfer of technology fast, which we didn't have. The internet. When we went from the industrial age to the information age, we didn't have the internet with people. We now have that. Standardization of databases and protocols. Individuals and cultures are in touch with each other, acting much faster. So, and also these machines are doing things that you can do right now. Well, that'll be coming up. So that's going to make it different than this time. And our cities get all connected up with the robots. The whole thing eventually becomes an automatic system of the repetitive behavior, the behaviors that you really don't want to do, right? You want to be interesting. So we will get a symbiosis between artificial intelligence and ourselves to make ourselves much more interesting, much more alive, much more creative, and much more connected to the whole world. And this means we'll go from an industrial economy to an information economy, and then to a self-actualization economy. And these are the kinds of things driving the change. You all know about computers getting faster and faster, called Moore's Law. There's another one about the Nelson's Law, which is the speed of the internet, and the volume of the internet is going up too. Artificial intelligence speeds it up. Computational science, where you can do simulations rather than laboratory work, speeds it up. And the synergies among all of these things makes what we think is possible in the future much more possible than we ever thought before. But there's a downside. Just as we can benefit from all these sort of things, so can organized crime. Organized crime and terrorism, corruption, information. We're already having the problem with information warfare and disinformation through all these things. So we're going to have to think ahead, realize that, as I said before, we're winning more than we're losing. So there's a reason for us to believe that we can conquer these things. But we have to think ahead, because if these artificial general intelligence hits before we're ready, then we do have problems. Then the science fiction people, the warnings haven't been listened to. We were warned about pandemics years and years ago. We didn't prepare. Now you're being warned about AI. Let's prepare.
What we learned today in Foresight Talk with Jerome C, director of the Millennium Project. First of all, the studies on foresight show that in the last 25 years, world improved in general. Today, in 2021, we face many new challenges that were already foresighted before as a global threat and the role of AI. But what is next? We also learned today what is coming with artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence will affect our daily life. This was Foresight Talk with Jerome C, the Millennium Project.